It's another week. Modern Day Thrives survives another week. We're a tad light, but hey, welcome to yet another edition to Modern Day Thrive. I'm your host. See if I can get the food out of my mouth. I'm your host, Dean Baker. To my immediate left is George Weber.
Greetings.
That's it. That's all you get tonight.
Yep.
We might have some people chiming in online, and
Cross fingers.
we'll cross our fingers. So how's your week been, George?
Pretty busy.
Yeah,
No rest for the wicked. So.
absolutely. It's been a bit of a crazy the last I don't know. I haven't had a day off. Well, I had a day off Saturday, but not in probably 2 weeks. So, you get a little, I don't know, shell shocked.
Yeah.
Is that the word for it? Of course, how long have you been without a day off? Or with a day off?
I did have that Monday.
Oh, the holiday. You got the holiday off.
I actually have off both jobs, actually.
Yeah.
Believe it or not. So it kind of was a.
Did you barbecue?
What did we do? I think we cooked some brisket. So
I see. I didn't get invited, so that was just big old. I'll blame that on COVID.
Yeah.
Just another COVID issue.
Had some family over. That's about it.
Yeah. I see where I fall there. That's fine. So Gene is he's traveling this week, and Jade has got some scheduling issues, but I spoke to her, and she might try. Cross fingers. She might try and actually get online with us in a little while. So last week I was telling you, I was telling you that you need to get away from some of those crappy,
tell me about
small part-time jobs.
Yes, I do.
And do this full time. Or part-time.
It's a hard jump.
It's a hard jump, but that does that is begs the question is what we talk about here every week is when do you turn your side hustle into your paying side hustle? When do you step away from the driving Uber and doing some of these side hustle things? When your business idea is actually coming, starting to take off at some point I call it, is the juice worth the squeeze?
Yeah. No, I kind of have a plan in mind as far as that's concerned. And, it's based on a lot of the momentum I'm going towards. And, so, I mean, realistically, until I can bring in enough of reoccurring income that starts to get rid of some of my permanent income.
All right.
I say get rid of, I say
replace, yes.
at the same time that I'm making it.
Nobody wants to starve. Nobody nobody wants to stop paying their bills, but at some point you have to go, all right, can the effort, the work I'm doing in this one thing, and I don't care, I'll go back to it. If all of a sudden I'm starting my soap business, and that soap business, I realize that the more I put into it, the more money I'm going to get out of it.
Yeah.
And at some point, you have to decide whether or not I want to stop spending my time, whether it's, driving pizzas around, driving Uber, DoorDash, all these other things that can be a time killer.
Yeah.
Because when you're not getting a fare on Uber, you're basically just driving around or parking somewhere waiting for somebody. I think Shane, he's been on our show. He had texted me or posted something about how many Uber drivers there were in Orlando. And
crazy.
It was staggering. And that's just one service, Lyft, of course, takes on the rest.
And some people do both.
Some people do both. The other thing too is, part of that, that side hustle is, I'm not sure. I have you known anyone to actually have a car that can rent out their car through those services?
I've heard of someone that's done it.
Yeah.
But I don't know how. It's not someone I kept up with, so I don't know how often they did it and if it really was worth it. Because if it made sense, why not buy a car that you plan on somebody else pay for? I mean, if it really made sense.
Right.
I don't know if it does.
So, as a photographer, like I will let some people know one of my side hustle secrets, and it's loading up right now, but I have to, what do I have to do here? Can I actually, I just realized I'm not sending my signal out anywhere, so I just don't know if that's going to happen. But I use ShareGrid, and ShareGrid is one of these, if you own cameras, I own a lot of cameras, and if you own cameras and you are basically, you've got some extra ones you don't mind renting out, ShareGrid is kind of like the Airbnb for cameras and production gear. So if you're sitting on a camera that you just don't use anymore and you think you can get some, you don't mind getting the use out of it, you know, somebody would probably want to rent it from you. It might make you a little bit of money.
Everything adds to the pile.
Hey, Carlos, leave it on the wide shot and bring me my phone. It's probably by the computer. Sorry to do this over the air, folks, but I didn't want to just walk off set. So if he can do that, that would be great. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah, he's good to keep around, Carlos is our director tonight. He's running everything from behind the scenes, which thank you, Carlos, for your assistance in that matter. And anytime you want to chime in, you just got to bring the slider bar all the way up, and you can talk into the show if you like. So anyway, where do we leave? Oh, looks like Art Sid just chimed in. Hey, Art, how are you? Nice to have you aboard. Feel free to call in, too, if you guys are watching and you just want to talk about something or tell us your side hustle. I think our audience would appreciate it. And, we even have StreamYard. So if you want to do webcam in, let me know and I can get you a link. So with that in mind, what were we talking about last week? Last week was kind of interesting because, you said something about you were saying you brought in some pine needles.
Yard waste.
You brought in some pine needles, and I was like, what the hell are you bringing in pine needles for? And of course, you thought that you could actually, what was your thought process?
It was
refresh my memory.
It was a last minute thing, and it was because I had ended up watching the video, which I think we're going to try to play a little bit of it here in a little bit, just to kind of
you better get it locked in on your phone while we're talking about it.
It's ready.
Yeah.
And I thought it was interesting, because we're talking about side hustles, and you're thinking about minimal amount of equipment required, and you can actually have a product out of it. Now, what that product can be really could range. The one that she built was basically a basket.
So she made a basket out of pine needles. Now,
and some thread.
Now, and last week you decided you would bring in a napkin full of pine needles.
Yeah.
And show me, ooh, I've got pine needles, but I railed you pretty hard about not
time
not
is not of an essence in my
having
life.
about not having any product to show.
So we're going to show someone that did it the good way.
So why don't you just show the folks at home some video. And as Carlos, as soon as you see it running, go ahead and bring it up. Leave our mics open too. So once you switch to it. So these are baskets made out of pine needles.
Hi everyone. Today I'm sharing with you how I made this beautiful pine needle basket.
I know your backyard is full of pine needles, but they're pretty interesting stuff. Well, how long I wonder does it take to make a basket out of pine needles?
I mean, I think if you once you get your rhythm in it, you could probably have one done in a couple days, probably, and it may even be something you can get done in a day if you have several hours. But like I say, would
likely they will have some imperfections.
and you can watch her in the video. She's collecting all of her stuff.
Sorry, I had to check the sound there. That was me.
Once she gets all of her stuff collected, there's a little bit of prep behind it. You do have to soak them, and you obviously soak them because in the current form they're brittle.
Right.
But when you soak them, then they're pliable.
Right.
So then you can bend them and do all that you need to do with them.
So Art looks like Art's having audio issues, but Art, I just checked one of my Facebook feeds and sound just came through. So you might want to double check your connections. Make sure you're not muted somewhere somehow. But anyway, yeah, keep trying. Hey, you can always give us a call in. Look at the bottom of the stream and you see a phone number and I will patch you through. So pine needles. Wow, this is they look like just regular old pine needles.
Yeah, nothing special.
Yeah,
like I say,
do they treat them afterwards?
I would imagine you'd probably want to do something with it, but it probably depends on what you're going to do with the products. Yeah, see, she's just basically
washing them.
She's just soaking them, so that so they're pliable.
Yeah.
And then, and you'll see later on, basically, she just keeps them in a wet towel.
Right.
And if you're going to stop doing it for a while, you just put them in the fridge or something.
Looks like it's hot water.
It did look like it was hot water, actually.
Yeah, I see the steam coming off of that. But, it looks like it'd be great for the kids. To
actually, it could be a good little kid project, actually.
But it could also be something. There's no shortage of pine needles anywhere.
Not in the state.
My mom had years and years ago when I was a little kid. So we're talking early 70s. She came to Florida and I guess she had seen some pine cones that she really liked, and so we told us kids to go pick them up off the ground. And from what I'm gathering is they were a neighbor's or something, these pine cones, these monster pine cones, which are actually pretty average looking in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're up from New England, you kind of look at it and go, wow, we don't see anything that big. And she brought them home and funny, I guess they were somebody's like decorations around their house, so we wound up stealing somebody's pine cones years ago. Anyway, this looks kind of cool. You can just take us off there, come back. That was interesting. So George, your goal for next week will be to make us a pine needle basket.
If next week is like
and
last
you can take
week,
pictures.
I won't get it
You
done.
can take pictures. I'm okay with that. You just bring in. It's called show and tell. You take some photos, and
I'm hoping to actually bring it in.
Yeah, well, that would be great too. We are going to show, touch, tell, whatever. Hopefully that didn't come across weird, but anyway. So very cool. Very cool. I think that, what else is going on? You've been Bitcoin mining.
Oh yeah, I increase it every week. I pretty much kind of have a routine now, and I'm waiting because next month is Remember, I don't know if I did tell everybody. I'll re-emphasize. My biggest ploy on this is a company called Celsius Network, and basically it allows me to earn interest on my Bitcoin,
right,
and other coins I have. It doesn't have to be Bitcoin. So I'm mining about Ethereum. I got some Dogecoin. I got some Bitcoin. Maybe one or two others in there. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah.
And I'm going to buy something called Cellcoin, which is what Celsius use for their coin based on their company. And the biggest ploy is when I get to a certain amount is I will be borrowing from that. So I will be able to stake my Bitcoin and borrow at 1%. I can borrow $1,000 at 1% all day long. I'll be borrowing $1,000 all day long.
So our Tuesday night Joe, in fact, you just met him earlier tonight. He had invested into Bitcoin, and I believe, I'm not sure he told you this, but I believe he had sold a day before it jumped up like $1,000 or something like that.
That probably hurts.
Well, he predicted. Let's just say he was fairly accurate, but I guess there was an adjustment. He was
off by a day or something.
He was off by a day and in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
And what's it done when it did that? When it jumped up 1,000, what did it do? Did it jump back down again?
Yeah, it's been pretty volatile lately. So, I think it went up close to 11, and from what I hear, it went back down close to 10. So, that's a pretty good jump.
Right.
Now, it all depends on how much you own.
Well, do the prices revolve based on, because hey, I've been to the dog track and the horse track, and you see odds on a favorite, and it seems like the more people that bet on it changes the odds.
Of course.
And I'm guessing the more people that are actively trading their Bitcoins, does that affect the price?
Obviously that could affect value of it.
Yeah, if somebody just unloads a bunch of Bitcoin,
that's where it goes down.
then people are what? Maybe they might panic. Maybe they might go, "Ooh, somebody knows something more than I do.
Possibly.
Maybe I better sell too." Which is like the stock market. If all of a sudden a bunch of people are selling,
well, some of it's
you got to wonder,
taking money off the table, which you're supposed to do. I mean, you don't just put your money in there forever and assume that forever, ever and ever and ever it's going to continue to go up. At some point in time, what goes up must come down. So
must it though?
Price
of gold?
I would say yeah.
Price of gold, what goes up could come down, but has been going up for 50 years.
Gold went through a spot too where it was down though. I mean, right now I think it's almost close to one of where it was at a high in 2010. I think if I looked at the chart properly, I was looking at that because I'm looking at some stuff that I'm going to sell.
Right.
I'm just waiting for that price to go up. That I don't care about, so I'm just, say, here, you take it, I'll take the money. Bitcoin definitely is going to be in my strategy, somewhere in my strategy. My strategy doesn't involve just one thing. I plan on having at least 10 to 15 streams of income. So,
okay.
So, I'm, and they're all kind of, a lot of them are small right now, but they're still working. It's all above zero. So for me, it's going in the right direction.
Okay. So it looks like,
and well above the average that you can get from a bank. Bank is the worst place right now to keep your money because it's a waste of money.
I'm looking at the gold prices from today. They say it's up $5. 7 days are down $40. 30 days ago, they were down $12. 6 months, they were up $350.
Yeah. So there's still volatility.
A year ago, they're up $396, and 5 years ago, they're up $782. So, and their current value now is what is that? Almost $2,000 an ounce.
Yeah.
So, but they say that's $35 down from whenever the last change was, which was probably yesterday. So, so, the way gold valuates and, I just wonder how close is that to,
Well, I think gold goes up when value of money goes down. So
Yeah.
Right now our money's pretty diluted. So,
Yeah.
So, gold is a good bet to get into. The question is where's the top and what happens to it when it comes down?
What happens is you lose money. You lose money.
Well,
I talk like this, but you know what? I don't speak money.
No, it's true.
Gene should be here because he speaks money. He understands it, speaks money, knows the terminology. I said something, I've been struggling with money terminology. I don't speak money. I might throw a term around. Doesn't mean I understand it. Doesn't mean I understand the stock market. Only that you try and buy low and sell high.
Yeah.
Much like anything you're investing in, you want to get in cheap and make lots of money. So hey, I can understand the basic principle, but I don't speak money.
Well, in terms of loss, it depends on your time frame goals too. But if it never goes up during that time frame that you want to utilize it, then yeah, you will suffer a loss, or you just hold it forever. Most of my assets in the stock market right now are all dividend paying stocks, and they're all monthly paying, so I get paid every month.
No good.
Some of them have stopped paying because of the issues within their own companies trying to tell them back how much they're putting out, hopefully to survive through the pandemic. And if they do, then I expect they'll all pick back up again.
Right.
But yeah, I have about 15 or so, maybe a little bit more monthly paying. So right now, because all the values of the physical stocks are down, I'm buying more stock now at lower value. So when it does go back up, it'll go back up stronger than what it was, because I'm going to own more stock, a lot of it at a lower value.
Cool.
So I don't really see it as a bad thing. Will some of them go under? Maybe. I hope not. But yeah, and at some point when it does, I'll probably pull that out and do something else with it. I think the stock market can be a value, but it can also be a hindrance to you. I think there are a lot better asset classes out there. I still think real estate, but again, it is when you buy it. If you buy it when everything's at the top, it's more expensive for you. But if you keep it for a longer period of time, you get your money back.
Well,
if someone else is paying for it.
I guess probably why I don't is, I'm in a field. I'm in a field that is more of a creative field. So
sure.
I start thinking about how I can develop an interesting script or a movie or a TV show or another webcast. And I do that, and part of my brain that tells me that doesn't tell me how I'm going to make money doing it. I rely on those people that speak money to do that.
Sure.
Unfortunately, when I'm gonna get into the whole entertainment business. You've got two sides of a coin. You've got the money side, and you've got the creative side, and it's really unfortunate that that the money side they tell you what you can and can't do.
Yeah.
Because they have to feel excited about their investment.
Am I going to get my money back?
I understand that, but the second, most money people don't really have. Everybody can be entertained. Everyone can sit there and watch television and be entertained and appreciate what's being done for them.
Sure.
But when someone's actually on that, they want to have a say in where their money goes. And unfortunately, those are people that, nothing against, they speak money. They speak money. They know what they can do to money to make it multiply and have little money babies and and that's their language. And so I was looking at a website earlier today, and it was about financing for the entertainment industry. And of course, I have projects that I need funding for, and really the only thing that I can, in a lot of us in our situations, we use crowdfunding because we are trying to fund the people that are art friendly, that might have money, but don't necessarily have that kind of money. Don't have that kind of where they could just cut a check and this is what I expect for that, and let's build a business off of this project, this investment. And unfortunately, the crowdfunding, you hope to get 10,000 people giving you $5. And then you have maybe some funding that you can actually go do something with. The great thing about that is you don't have to pay it back. No one's expecting anything other than maybe a t-shirt or a thank you or this, that, and the other. So, but crowdfunding, I've known a few people to do crowdfunding and actually have their ventures financed through crowds of people, which are great. But man, it's like it's a long road. Sure. But it might, and for creatives like me, sometimes it's the only road, because we're not invited into that exclusive money club where they get in, a bunch of those guys with top hats and monocles, and they're sitting around this table going, how more rich can we get? And they want to talk about things like gold prices and dividends and things like that. And I start snoring. I start falling asleep when they do. Hey, don't get me wrong. I like money, but it's not my language. I like going to Europe. I don't know how to speak fluent anything, I don't speak the language. So it people in my situation, that we are creatives, we create, we develop our ideas into something, and then we go, I can do better, I can go bigger, only bills got to get paid for me to do this. Someone's got to pay my rent for the next year so that I can do this project and hopefully put some money in the bank and all that stuff. So I'm reading this site, and it's financing, and it's this company that's all about film financing, entertainment financing, and yet they tried to dumb it down for the guys like the creatives that don't speak money. And it was sad. It was sad because they're going in their cost projection analysis, this, that, and the other, and they're going, if I have to get my Google dictionary out just to understand what the hell you're talking about, and then on top of that, they're telling me all the stuff I already know. Don't just write a script. Create some visuals, get more, find out who's willing to buy it. I'm like, well, geez, if I were Disney and, they already know who their audience is. When they create something, they already know who's going to buy it. And chances are they're going to buy a lot of it because, but when you're at this level of creative, and I'm getting around to another point here. When you're at this level of creative, you actually, what do I want to say? Obviously you're stuck. You're stuck because you can make it better, but you don't have the funds. You've exhausted your personal income to get as far as you can go with it, but without that final big risk. Do I sell everything? Do I empty out all my accounts if there's anything to empty out, to put it all and let it ride? That's scary. That comes back to you walking away from maybe a small income side hustle kind of thing that may not be your passion, but it's paying a bill. Puts food on the table. And I think everybody that comes onto our site and watches our webcast, I go, yeah, I'd really love to do that, but I don't have any time left. I don't have any time. And, well, unfortunately, this kind of thing requires that risk assessment. The money guys know how to do it. They know how to go, I'm going to get on the stock market based on projections and analysis. I think I can invest in this stock and it's going to come around for me, or invest in Bitcoin, or invest in gold, or I think that if I do my math and my homework, I will invest my money, but there's always an element of risk, but money people usually don't risk everything. They don't risk their personal security. They don't risk their house that they're living in. They might risk their beach house, and we hear about that stuff, but there is an element of risk. So, you got the creative, I would never, much like I don't gamble, because gambling would be a surefire way for me to lose something. If I were to gamble, if I were to bet on, if I were just to say, I'll bet you this team is going to beat that team, and I'm sure to lose. I am sure to lose. If money were on the table, I'll bet you $5 my team's going to win. I would be hell sure to lose. And so I don't risk in areas that, but I do risk in what I create in my brain. What I develop, what I go over. But I don't risk it all, because of course, you can't risk your house that you're living in. You really can't.
No. It would make sense.
You can go play blackjack and put $100 on red, hope it's going to show up, and you'd be half right, or half wrong. And so there's that kind of risk. But we risk a lot, and I'm affiliated with a bunch of filmmakers in Central Florida, the OIF, Orlando Independent Filmmakers, and they're on Facebook, and they are just a great group of people that want to make films. Some of them are really great at it, and some of them are just working at it. They're trying to get better, and we want to see them thrive. We want to see them thrive, and these guys are spending their savings accounts. These guys are spending extra money just to get something they created out in the world. And it's unfortunate there's so many of us trying to do that the money people just aren't looking at us, with that kind of, that we are doing the risk. We are risking a lot, as much as they'd risk on a stock, risk what we can. So that's a big part of, I guess, tonight's episode is risk. And what are you willing to do for your ideas? We're going to see if this is an actual phone call. Hello. Please stop what you're doing. Please stop what you're doing. Okay. So that clearly wasn't, I think that was my Google representative telling me they can help me with my my
advertising,
my Google outreach into the world. That was funny. So sorry, I was hoping that'd have been one of our callers, but didn't quite work out that way. It's funny.
I think you definitely have to, if you're not balancing your risk, you're just purely gambling. I mean, it's like, thinking that you just have money that you can throw away. You've got to balance the risk, and always, be looking for the percentages of something really playing out based on how you foresee it at the time that you invest into something. And things don't always work out, but a lot of times, when you're gambling. And other times you can say, well, I can see this working out, so I'm willing to take the risk.
Right.
And
Carlos, just look behind you, see if anyone's trying to log in. Just look behind you, see if anyone's attempting. But I'm not sure I'll get it here. Anyway,
I definitely, and that's kind of why, I've been doing things the way I am. A lot of the investments I'm in now, I feel are pretty good risks. They're not super expensive, and they do provide a return. So,
right.
And then the question is, what do you do with it when you get that return?
Well, the whole insurance thing, life insurance seems to be a really safe,
it's solid
place to risk some of your money, not all of it in one basket, but sure. And that does protect long term.
Sure.
So that you can.
It was interesting you just said that, because one of the things I probably have heard but never took stock into account. The guy I listened to, Garrett Gunderson, there's a lot of really good videos, and what he talks about is basically creating a family bank. And what you do is you basically have life insurance policies on everybody in the family, even the kids. And what happens is, as people pass away, that wealth goes back into, refund the policies, basically. So it's never ending. So
he who lives last lives best.
Yeah.
Is that what that is? That sounds like a really good, National Lampoon movie. You get a group of people in this family that are all money grubbers. You know what? I'm going to start writing a script, So yeah, it just sounds like that. He who lives last lives best.
Well, there's a lot of he has a lot of good philosophies in there, because it's based on the Rockefellers.
Yeah,
the Rockefellers started, the philosophy of being your own bank way back in the time. You're talking what, 1800s, I think.
100 years ago, sure.
So and their families built enormous wealth. There were two families they really highlight. One was the Vanderbilts, one was the Rockefellers, and they talk about the understanding of the philosophies. The Vanderbilts, within I think 2 generations, the bloodlines are basically dying flat broke. The Rockefellers are still rich today and still can donate millions and millions of dollars and still be making money from the initial money that was created.
So why do you think that is?
Because they set forth a path and they stuck with it. So they have policies built, and not only on top of the policies, they have parameters. You can't just come and take money out of there because you want to go buy a car. If you want to take money out of the bank to buy a car, you can go take the money out to buy a car, but you're going to pay the money back with interest to make sure that the bank continues to run. So, just like anything else, that anyone, that you build rules around it, and even for my kids, if I did, whenever I get to the point that I have enough money to do that, I would probably do the same thing. If you want to create a business or something, fine, write up a plan for it. And if you need to borrow the money from the business, that's fine, but you have to repay the money. It's not free money.
Right.
Because that's what happens. And I think that's what happened. Then the Vanderbilts, they bought big houses, big cars. Yeah. And basically they had nothing left when it was done.
Right.
Apparently
So basically the family's making interest off of
yourself.
Off of the family.
Yeah. Well, I mean, instead of paying the bank interest, you're paying yourself back interest. It makes sense. You're obviously not 28%, No. Well,
I'm sure
it'd be nice if that were available, but it's certainly better than what you get now,
right?
Because you can't get anything from the banks right now, and I don't see that coming back anytime soon.
Would you think about implementing that type of financing for your family?
Absolutely.
Just create a bank.
I tried to get my kids involved. They kind of dropped off pretty fast. They were like, "Oh yeah, that sounds like a good idea." And then I put up the first payment for everyone, and then no one else would do it afterwards. So I'm like, it would have been a nice philosophy. It would have actually grown. I was
teenagers
talking
and
$25 a paycheck. I was talking a very small number,
right?
But with 5 people, it grows pretty quickly.
Sure.
And then when it gets to a certain point, we'll put that money into something that actually earns us some interest,
Okay.
And there's tons of stuff like that, and there's there's one I use, which I consider, fairly liquid, that I get about 5% on. That's not great, but you know what? 5% is a hell of a lot better than you can get from a bank. I mean, banks, I don't even think are at 1% right now. So you really don't get a decent return.
1%. Wow.
And with the stuff coming up with some of the companies out there, I think are doing it right. I can use my Bitcoin that I'm growing to allow me to borrow, at 1%.
Right.
If I could borrow at 1% and I could throw that money into something and earn 5%, I can right off the bat, I could win. Obviously, that's not my first play. My first play is to get rid of any credit cards, any cars, any houses I'm owning that I'm paying through the nose in interest.
Right.
If I can drop $1,000 on a car at 1%, I reduce the interest I'm paying on that car, pay that loan back, and then repeat the process. It's the same thing I was going to do with my insurance policy, but my insurance policy is 5%. So I'll go back to that.
Right.
If the 1% runs out, or if it doesn't become 2%, 3%, whatever it is below it.
Right.
So basically I'm buying more expensive debt with cheaper debt and increasing my cash flow at the same time, because cash flow is the key. If you do not increase your cash flow, you won't be able to do any of the things you're trying to do. You have to create your cash flow. You need to wake up.
What I was talking about in the first half of the show is that I don't speak money. And then George just unleashes all this cash flow, debt, income, blah, 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 blah. He just starts spewing out. He wasn't listening to the fact that I don't speak money. You but
spend money though.
I believe me, I know how to spend money. Yes. Like anyone. No, I do understand what you're saying. And I will take some of that advice, while I can, but you gotta really dumb things down for us dreamers,
less expensive, more expensive.
Yes. So no, I think so what's next for you?
Kind of right now I'm
other than you're gonna make me a basket made out of pine needles from your backyard.
I'm probably going to do a coaster for you, actually.
Coaster, which is half of a basket.
Because I don't have to do
the coaster, just the bottom part.
We'll see.
It looks interesting,
It does actually. I'm just curious to see.
You get
it looks pretty solid.
You got some kids in the house. Put them to work.
Yeah.
Kids today were making wicker bowls, and sell them at the farmer's market. I think
that's a place for it.
And
actually.
It's 100% recyclable too.
Yeah.
And it'll burn very well if you need to make a fire. That's so, right.
We'll call them fire pit coasters.
Fire pit coasters, right? So, I can see that. Definitely make something out of. One thing I like about that is to recognize value. Mm-hmm. If you can recognize the value in something, which means if you see value in the most obscure way, a piece of building material like aluminum that people rip off their houses all the time.
Yeah.
And then most people would go, just put it to the curb. And then when that person puts this huge sheet of aluminum to the curb, then that guy comes around with his trailer and scoops that aluminum up in 2 seconds flat and takes it right around the corner to the recycling place and gets, pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters, and dollars for a lot of this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Brass. If you have your plumbers coming in to replace all your brass fittings with, with something else, or copper fittings with something else, then you might
want to keep it.
You might just say, you're not taking it. You'll replace it, and I'll keep all that stuff over. But
and not even all of them do that. Some people like. I wish I had taken a picture of it. I could have brought it here. It hurts me, man. Because in the dumpster the other day, we were going to go throw some stuff away that we had been piling up, and these guys came over with the trailer and literally filled it with old windows.
I
filled it.
Yeah,
and that was next
old windows. That's aluminum.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
and it was next to a dumpster, one of the big dumpsters.
Hello.
One of the big dumpsters.
Yeah.
Was next to it.
Yeah.
It was full.
Yeah.
Over top, because the company sells windows.
Right.
So I'm just like going, that hurts. It really does. Because I tell you, recycling is always a big part of me. Because the company I was working for, I wasn't able to do it on my own, but I was doing it for them.
Right.
And at the same time, we benefited from it. We brought in last year over $4,000 in recycling. Over $4,000.
The company that you worked with now,
Yeah, because they
currently
allow,
working with.
instead of us, calling someone and making us throw everything in the truck that they just run away with,
Right.
they allowed us to, because we have a company truck, take stuff over, and we, they'll take motherboards, they take, the
So does the company,
cases,
what does the company do with that money that you guys found for them?
buy us pizzas and stuff.
So,
So we get something
okay.
out of it.
Yeah.
They'll have a time when all of us are together, and we'll go over to the
Nice.
place I work, and we'll get their big pie, huge pie, and maybe a couple other things. Spend a couple hundred at a clip sometimes.
Well, that's great. That's what a good company should do.
Sure.
Especially if their employees are going, hey, we just, we're going to do a little bit of effort and not, and reclaim what they've been probably just giving away to somebody else who's been saying.
Don't even get me started. Trucks full.
Well,
trucks full.
You think, you hear the people that run their cars off cooking oil,
Yeah.
and like if you have a diesel engine, I guess it can fairly inexpensively be converted over. And of course, there was a time when people could go to your neighborhood and say, look, I'll take that oil off your hands.
Yeah.
I'll take that oil off your hands.
The EPA stepped in and said, no, you can't do that.
And did the EPA do that?
Someone probably did, because they were like, you don't know what you're doing with it. They don't know if they're
Well,
doing
the idea
right
is that
or-
there's probably a recycling company that stepped in and say,
yeah.
we'll pay you to take it away because they recognize the, so we'll take away all your cooking
There's a
oil
lobbyist in there somewhere.
or all your, so you don't hear about anyone, changing their diesel over.
Well, I work
to,
in a restaurant.
cooking
They
oil.
all have facilities outside of them that they have to dump them into. And I don't see them do it, but I know somebody comes by and, hooks a hose up to it and goes,
Right, pumps it out and,
So
I
it's
don't
like
know.
the Jiffy Johns.
Maybe they make a form of biodiesel. Maybe they make, who knows what they make.
They
with
do
it,
something with it.
But, there are vehicles, military vehicles, that'll run off of engine oil.
Actually, you know what you can use it for? What's this funny? It's kind of a tidbit to pressure treat wood.
Oh, pressure treat.
You take diesel.
You have to cook
and mix it. No, you take diesel and you mix it with oil, used oil.
Okay.
And that you can use that. That's what they said. That's what they used back in the pioneer days to pressure treat wood. They said some of the wood's still around today.
Wow.
Yeah, I was because I was looking at a video trying to figure out,
diesel and oil.
because I need to do some fence work, and I'm like thinking, well, God, can I just buy that? And how do you pressure?
The
treat it?
lumber
Can I
you
do it?
use, is, I guess, what is it? Maybe 20% more expensive than, to buy regular lumber than to buy pressure treated lumber.
Yeah, I looked at the price
only-
and I was like, yeah, it wasn't
Yeah,
worth it.
that's one of those things
It was
where
within the same dollar.
the juice wasn't worth the squeeze.
No.
So I'm going to go collect some diesel and some used motor oil and make myself some wood treatment.
Yeah, once
and
I saw
then
that, I
go,
was like, nah, no, that's not going to be worth it. I thought I was like going to be saving.
Of course,
something
does that
one.
mean it's not flammable? I would think it'd be incredibly flammable at that point.
At some point, probably. I don't know. Eventually,
if you have wood soaked in,
wood is flammable in its own. So,
yeah, I'm not sure. I think part of the pressure treating process probably makes it a little less flammable. I don't know.
Well, it seals it. So, I don't know.
But even still, wood is it's a moist.
Of course,
it keeps a lot of moisture in the wood. But yeah, that's
actually another tidbit. I was as part of that process, they were saying you should never cement your posts in the ground. He said because you're basically cementing them into a cavity that's going to hold water and it's going to make it rot.
Yeah. Plus, it's a pain in the butt.
Oh yeah, you don't want. Yeah, you don't want to pull that stuff out.
I just replaced some fence posts, and most people would just kind of dig everything up and throw it all away.
Mm-hmm.
Because all the cross sections, tend to get a little weathered, and but I gotta tell you that I took a bunch of that stuff off. Of course, there's some pieces that were just broken up and rotting, and you would know this because you actually helped me put this fence up.
Oh, I remember,
like 14 years ago.
I remember,
and so I actually took some fencing and kept all the wood And instead of trying to make it vertical, I made a horizontal wood sections of the fence. And I kept the best parts of the wood, and pieces were a little shorter at some points, but you know, and then I hit it with the pressure, the pressure washer. I hit it with that, and man, that wood looks beautiful. And of course, it's all pressure treated, so all you got to do is get out the, all the gooey stuff.
The stuff
that stuff collects,
top stuff,
that soaks into the wood and it rots the wood. But I got to tell you, I got a second use out of my fencing, just to kind of reimagine what my fencing can be. Now I did have to replace some posts, but funny thing is we never cemented those, so I pulled them right out of the ground, dropped another one right in its place.
And, the hole stays nice and
you just kind of have a little, so where most people would just kind of chuck everything and start over. I'd rather just, make use of what's, try and
I got to do a lot of fence work at my house right now. Some of it I'm having someone do, and then I'm going to probably take over and finish the other, because it really wasn't that bad. And actually, they're building them from scratch.
Right.
So I've been trying to price out the parts, because if I can buy, X amount more parts for the same amount of money, then I'm going to do that. But I haven't, I think the price of lumber went up here recently. So
we go back to when we first started doing this show, we would talk about areas of your life that we can teach you how to cut corners and teach you how to save money, whether it's recycling, don't just throw it in the trash for somebody else. Don't send it to the landfill, because a lot of that stuff, if it's just a lot of copper wire and stuff like that, a lot of that stuff can just go into a bin.
That's what I do.
And build it, and then when it starts filling up, then you can take it somewhere and get a few bucks for it. Let the kids do it. Make it something for the kids to say, "Hey, look, kids, this is your you do the work. This is your this is how you get something you want real bad." And I'm a big recycler, and I just don't like the idea of everything going to the landfill, because it just doesn't need to. It's getting crazy. Florida has mountains, and unfortunately,
it's not really a mountain.
They're not mountains. They are landfills that look like mountains in Florida. When you go to Miami or the drive to Miami and you go by, wow, look at all the mountains and the hills. Pretty, why is there a fire coming out of the top of one? Because they have to have a live flame to burn off the methane, because it's a big mountain of crap.
Well, the company Waste Management,
Yeah.
They run all their trucks off of gas they produce from those.
Yeah. But they have to have those flames up there just because
probably explode.
You would think, if they,
someone walk by and light a cigarette.
It's kind of like the pilot light on your, you let too much methane build up in some community, it'll just kind of, it'll be bad, So
how much waste do they get in that? But I mean, I think I find that to be interesting. Could they ever produce enough that instead of running off of gasoline, could they run off of gas that's being produced by waste?
Right. There's so much, natural gas, and of course that opens the doors up to fracking and all this other stuff that, people don't see the end result. But there's just so many things, granted, methane is a natural product of all the waste, the rest of the waste that we're putting into the world, then great, if there's a way to refine it. And some of the best companies on the planet are thinking ahead and trying to deal with, they're either building a business off of recyclable materials, or they are, or they are doing, they're dealing with their byproducts, the stuff that happens when they're manufacturing something else.
Oh yeah, I wish we can come up with a way to deal with plastics better, because that's nasty.
It's unfortunate, you know.
That's a nasty product to make and unmake.
Yeah.
You know?
So I'm sure you have to melt it down, and I'm sure you have to.
It's got to be
and
nasty.
I'm sure that puts a lot of stuff out in the atmosphere that we'd probably. But you have to kind of wonder what's.
What if there's a way to dissolve it somehow? You know, come up with a product that dissolves it naturally, and and makes it reusable.
Well, just start making something. You know, maybe redefining what plastic we have to do, and kind of thinking 2 steps beyond that, and going, maybe the plastic we're making now or manufacturing now, we can make it so that it comes back to us 100%. And if not, make it profitable for everybody and their cousin to pick up the stuff off the side of the road. Make it so that we're buying it back. Now, I remember where I grew up in Massachusetts, there was a time in the 80s, I think, when plastic bottles were really starting to, and they were actually putting a penny, a value on the bottles.
Mm-hmm.
And if you bring them back, we'll give you a nickel.
Yeah.
And there were, and you'll still see something on the back of a lot of, bottles that show a value. I think you
New York still, I think, don't they?
That is entirely possible that they'd have to do it in New York, because I couldn't imagine what they would do if just a fraction of all the bottles that the population would drink on a daily basis would wind up in a landfill. I couldn't imagine, but there are still, in some products, we still see values on the back of these. So someone's obviously still doing that. I don't know who it is. I don't think it's in Florida, but that's going
to be a big problem going forward, because I know that they were shipping that stuff overseas, but I think even now they're like, we don't want that stuff. Stop sending us your stuff. We don't want it.
Stuff.
You
have to pick a country that we can just pile everything on, and then what?
Put it in the desert, I guess.
That's unfortunate, but that's what some people would think. So, I have a friend who's trying to get a charter question through on the next election, and of course on Thursday nights we're doing a live webcast about Florida's right to clean water. And that group got a charter question on the ballot, and they're asking people to vote yes, and it just basically gives people in Central Florida the right to determine who's when business steps in and their byproduct hurts our water supply. So it puts power back into the citizens that want to know who's asking, who's going to be dumping, who's going to be, puts power back in. And so Thursday nights we're doing a webcast right here, and through some channels that they actually promote, but it's for the right to clean water. And if anyone's interested in having clean water, meaning if you like to go to the Wekiva Springs, if you like to not have to, be scared about the water that's coming out of your tap, and you want to make sure that, because our water comes from somewhere, it comes right from below us, and it is, needs to be protected, because if anything, the consequences are, you think California, they have to have their water piped in from other states, because
they have a salt water.
Well, that too, but their water supply, is gone, as far as I know.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they have to have their water piped in. I mean, I'm sure they have to have groundwater somewhere, but if it's, I don't know.
Not getting it from Mexico.
Probably not. So, but anyways, that's happening on Thursday nights, and if you're into recycling, if you're into our environment, our ecosystem, then might want to check it out Thursday nights. We're doing a little earlier. We're doing 6 o'clock on Thursdays. It's an hour webcast. We'll cross promote it on as many streams as we can to get people to watch. Tomorrow night is Enough About Me with Joe O'Connor, and he likes to talk about just about anything that pops in his head. He usually starts his webcast on Bitcoin, telling people where Bitcoin is, even though his show isn't about finance. He likes letting people know that he has a vested interest in Bitcoin, and it works for him. Wednesday night we have Word on the Streets. My mouth is working okay, I suppose. Word on the Streets, which is about our community, about African American affairs in Central Florida. It's about what's going on in the world. And just have a little chat about that. That's at 7 o'clock on Wednesday nights. 7:30 on Wednesday nights. And the other part of this is if you're interested in creating your own program, come see me. PostFX Digital Studios. That number on the scrolling across the screen is a number that gets to me 7 days a week. And if you're interested in, if you have something to say and you want to say it and need a platform, I've got the platform. Let me know. Give me a call. So this is fun. The hour went by pretty fast. I think Gene's gonna, I didn't miss Gene so much now, so sucks for you, Gene. So I hope you're enjoying wherever you are, but we'll love to have you next week. And Jade, we miss you as always. Take care of your family, and we will talk to you soon. So
have a good night.
Is that pretty much it?
I think that's it.
I think that's it. So, folks, this is Modern Day Thrive. I'm Dean Baker. This is George Weber. Enjoy your evening. Enjoy your week. And we'll talk again soon. Take care.